In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast.
This is another rousing episode of another pointless automotive podcast. My name happens to be Frank.
Yeah, frankly.
Yes,
I'll be Frank. Still Chadwick.
Yep, I'm flanked by Chadwick to my right, if you're viewing via the YouTube, that would be your left. And we're gonna hang out. We're gonna do what we normally do, which is talk car things and stuff and little tidbits from the automotive world.
That's right.
I want to talk about sequels.
Okay.
We live in a society where sequels are a thing. Where is the one-hit wonder? There's always at least a sequel. If you strike pay dirt, you do something good, you make something great, people want more. They want a sequel. They want a runner-up. They want a sophomore album.
It's like all movies now. All movies are now sequels of pre-existing movies.
That's right. Yeah, no longer. Can you imagine if Jurassic Park was just the first one and there was no Vince Vaughn in the second one, or there was no talking to made-up dinosaurs like blowing through a dinosaur's
You mean
skull.
like dirt bikes and raptors?
Dirt bikes and raptors, yeah. If none of that happened and it was just a standalone.
Easily can imagine that.
Can you imagine if there was a Shawshank Redemption 2?
Oh God.
Re-Redemption?
Extra shanky.
Exactly. Or Titanic 2?
Where it floats back to the surface and it's a ghost ship.
Exactly. Have you seen the movie Ghost Ship?
I have.
Okay.
It wouldn't technically be Ghost Ship 2 at the same time.
Yeah.
There probably is a Ghost Ship 2.
See, what's better than one sequel? A 2 for 1.
When franchises bond together in a shitty movie.
Alien vs. Predator. So,
it's a comic book first.
this does exist it's pervasive in our society, including the world of the automobile.
Of course.
A couple of different ways that companies have done this over the years, and this is not a new thing.
Not at all.
Clearly, there have been second generations of things. There have been quote-unquote sequels or other alternative versions of popular nameplates and designs.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to talk about today. Automotive sequels. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some ones that never got a sequel. There was the Shawshank Redemption and not the Shawshank Redemption 2.
Good choice sometimes.
What do we think about sequels? There's first off, there's stuff like you had the Ford Bronco 2, you had the Ford Mustang 2, which I always thought was really interesting. They're just adding 2 onto it.
Well, that's how you do a sequel, right?
But they weren't even like a sequel. It was almost like it should have been like the Bronco TOO. Like this is also a Bronco. It's smaller. Yeah. It's built off a Ranger.
That's the Blazer, the K5 Blazer and the S10 Blazer.
Correct. Yeah, you have the S10 Blazer and like the Jimmy and the Sonoma. I guess the Sonoma was the truck. What do they call it? What was the S10 Blazer, the GMC version? Was it called the Jimmy?
The Jimmy,
It was the Jimmy. Yeah, it was the Jimmy, and then the Sonoma was the S10 pickup truck version.
Correct.
You had stuff like that, which, by name is sort of like a sequel. Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily what we're really going to talk about. I'm thinking more of just like second generation stuff.
Yeah.
The true sequel. What was the follow-up?
True sequels, yeah. I know you're getting at the point here on a big sequel. What are you going to launch us off with? What's your big sequel topic here?
So, there are, I think, many instances where the second generation car, the sequel, was better than the original. Like, for instance, I would argue that Terminator 2, Judgment Day, is better than the original Terminator movie.
Do you see Arnold's dong in that one?
I don't think you get to see him hanging brain in the second one.
Do you see the first one? There's that one scene where you get some Arnie side to side.
Front, back, side to side, yeah. Good. I'm trying to remember. I don't think there's any explicit nudity in the second one.
Yeah.
Or inexplicit even.
I totally agree with you though.
What was that movie with Ben Affleck where you see his whole hog for like 1/8 of a second and it was like super impressive?
What is that? I know in Hollow Man you see Kevin Bacon's slightly invisible.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, in was it Gone Girl? I think it was.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and he's swinging like an absolute hammer, like he's really packing heat.
Yeah.
But no, I would say
son, if you will.
Greg Oden's son.
Odin.
Oh,
Thor's hammer.
Yes, okay. Exactly. I was like, Greg Oden has a child, and he's hung.
Beard of Odin.
Great Odin's raven. So much like I believe, anyways, Terminator 2 is better than Terminator 1.
Aliens, more entertaining than Aliens.
I would say Aliens is better than Alien.
100%.
Die Hard 1 is certainly better than Die Hard 2, but I think Die Hard 3 is a sneaky hot take. Die Hard 3 is better.
Die Hard 2 is pretty good.
I don't. Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon. You ever see like the edited for TV version? So, but yes, what I'm getting at is there are, I think, many instances where the second generation car is better than the first. Sometimes that's debatable.
The Sophomore album better than the original.
Yes, sometimes it's not necessarily debatable. It's a shame we never got a second generation Pontiac Aztec, so that one is not in this conversation. But to start us off, I'm going to say the C1 Corvette was bested by the C2 Corvette.
Yeah.
The C1 Corvette had many changes. It was originally a 6-cylinder, always a roadster.
Always.
You ended up getting a V8, and there were some changes. And then you had the C2 in 1963, which I think is one of the prettiest cars of all time.
It's gorgeous.
Far more performance job, so it's a flawed car, but for its day, it was pretty performance oriented, and far so more than the C1. I would say arguably the C2 Corvette was better than the C1 Corvette.
I agree. It is a coupe, which adds the rigidity, performance, handling characteristics for sure. Good looking car too.
Great looking car. Just kind of truly iconic.
They look good in silver. Very few cars. C2 in silver looks pretty damn proper.
C2. I mean, does that car look bad in any color?
No, but silver just for some reason. There's a lot of metal. There's a lot of
Yeah, red overrated. I don't know for the Corvette, for the little red Corvette.
I think I take silver over red for the C2.
Yeah. Do you have any examples that you can come up the top rope with?
Yeah. So for me, it's like a lot of times the sequel is like a drastic departure from the original.
It can be,
right?
Yeah.
So one point is here in the States, we didn't get the Capri as much as Europe. We did get some examples. They were kind of neutered.
Correct.
But we did have the Mercury Capri 50 RS, which was basically a Fox Body GT.
Yeah.
Mustang. And the follow-up act to that rear-wheel drive V8 powered almost muscle car was a front-wheel drive 4-cylinder convertible.
Yes.
Called a Mercury Capri, and the spicy version was an XR2 with a turbo. And I'm not saying I don't like that because I love that car, but we went from rear-wheel drive V8 honking muscle car to front-wheel drive convertible.
Yeah.
That's a rapid departure from what they set out to do.
Look at the history of the Capri nameplate
in general
in the States. Every iteration of that car was so wildly different than whatever preceded it, right?
But historically, it was always rear-wheel drive, kind of like a pseudo pony car kind of application. But that was the biggest departure for me, was going front-wheel drive, drop the top, maybe put a turbo.
And was it a Daewoo product?
That was a Mazda engine.
And it was a Mazda engine, but I think the chassis, I don't know. It was an unholy mashup.
Yeah. But big difference, dude, between those cars.
A little bit. Yeah.
Those are two different markets, right?
They are. Yeah. Would you say the second is better than the first?
No, I think
that's the first.
Better. Yeah. This is a situation where automotive sequels kind of took a step back. We were going to explore some of those.
There are lots of those for sure.
Just like movies, same thing. A lot of times the sequel doesn't improve upon
probably more often than not, right?
Yeah, because it's usually made for TV.
Like the first Matrix was a fantastic movie, and then you know the Matrix is where you've got like the weird like greasy subterranean orgy weird session, and not nearly as good as the original. Although I haven't seen the newest one.
Yeah, I've heard
mixed. I don't know. We'll talk about Top Gun in a minute, I suppose.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on... Well, here's one, and one probably people don't think about. The second gen Prius was a very good car.
Much.
The first gen Prius was an important car.
But
it's not a terribly good car. Because even it got 40 miles a gallon?
Yeah. I mean, it was the first. That was the first major like application of the hybrid technology.
Yeah, it was genuinely ugly.
Yeah. It didn't look exciting.
Column shift.
Yeah. Interior didn't have the cool screens with all the like where the energy is going from the motor.
Yeah,
to the
battery. Yeah, exactly. Just this weird. The usability wasn't great because it had a trunk. It wasn't a hatchback.
You know what it reminded me of?
Toyota Echo.
An Echo and a Prius had sex.
Kind of.
Right? And it was bland, but still had a hybrid. I don't know.
Yeah, it was
the Echo had better fuel economy without a hybrid engine.
Kind of, yeah.
Which was funny.
I would say the two-door Toyota Echo is one of the ugliest vehicles ever produced.
What are you talking about?
That thing from a profile shot?
Frank, the new WRX has the plastic cladding. Come on, that thing had it before.
I'm okay with the new WRX.
Well, then you must be okay with the Echo because it had it pioneered.
It's not about the cladding. It's about the silhouette of that car.
It looks so horrible with the cladding too, because the cladding is like 4 to 5 to 6 inches.
I couldn't even tell you what shape that like door aperture panel is. It's this weirdest cutout. It's just
a blob. It's amorphous blob.
That's the whole thing. It's
bizarre.
Bad. But I'm saying the first gen Prius absolutely overshadowed by the second gen Prius. The
huge
second gen Prius
bump up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, huge in effectively every conceivable
performance,
metric.
Looks, tech.
Yep. It was bigger. It was far more usable. It was far more practical. Fuel economy was better. More reliable.
That's WrestleMania for NES. Said on the box, bigger, better, badder.
Oh, could have been longer, uncut.
Yeah, I think they were talking about Hulk Hogan's schlong.
Well, no, we're not allowed to talk about that because remember he started suing everyone. Or who was it? Deadspin, I think he killed, or like the whole Gawker empire.
But we're being positive. They were talking about like extramarital stuff. We're purely positive.
Oh yeah, we're just. And I guess if we're saying Hulk Hogan is
fictional
well endowed. Yeah, it's the character. It's not he's a
no one's ever going to get upset that you say they're well endowed. I don't think
somebody will.
Like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, fair assessment. Yeah, I remember those rumors. I remember those rumors. She's
let's just
thumbs up, bro. So what other ones were? Let's talk about sequels.
You want to hear about? So I'm going to keep us sad. Still, muscle cars to economy cars, but keeping the same name.
I have one on my list. I have one specifically on my list.
Let me do a couple. The Chevy Nova, becoming basically a Corolla. Let's be honest.
Straight up Corolla.
Straight up Corolla. Charger to Charger. Now we went from like one of Mopar's beloved muscle cars to a front-wheel drive, 4-cylinder powered economy car to start.
Although I will say the middle ground Charger, like the late 75 and up Charger, was a personal luxury coupe.
But a big difference.
With a big V8 though still.
But they went to front-wheel drive with a 2.2 with 90-something horsepower and an interior quality that was subpar anything.
Right.
It really dropped off hard. Mustang to Mustang 2.
Yeah.
How about Dodge Dart? Back in the day, Dodge Dart was an approachable pony car kind of competitor, and now you get a front-wheel drive economy-based car that lasts about 2 years before something critically fails.
Exactly. It goes full Italian.
Yeah. So that was like a broad sweeping one. Did I hit yours, or did you want to?
Did not. What?
Which Dodge?
Challenger.
Same.
So the E-body Challenger, that's the one everyone cares about and remembers. That's 1970 to 1974. Disappeared in 74. Came back late 70s, early 80s as the Dodge Challenger, which was a Mitsubishi Galant Sigma rebadge.
Correct.
And it also had the Plymouth Sapporo stablemate.
That's right.
But this was like just a straight up captive import.
Of course.
They called the Challenger. And then, of course, they make up for it later with the current Challenger that
they
we've
really
had forever.
They recovered.
That's on a 15-year recycle session at this part.
Still a good car.
So that is definitely one where the sequel was not better. But that was, it's funny, if you go back and look at that whole era, like the early 80s-ish to mid-80s-ish era of just like, hey, we're an American manufacturer.
Yep.
We are way behind the 8 ball and got flat-footed by all these Japanese import manufacturers.
Late to the party.
We have been caught flat-footed. How do we recover? I know we're going to cash in on the one thing we absolutely have in spades, and that is our history and brand recognition and nameplates. And so that's what they did. So you ended up with, the Pontiac Le Mans. Just that was a Daewoo, right? I think that was a Daewoo.
Yeah.
captive import, and just a bunch of
there was a lot
unsavory,
broad sweeping thing, and I think people took affront to that because these were traditionally like very well known muscle cars with very strong fan bases, especially in the 80s and 90s, because they were keeping the muscle car alive, because they went through the 70s, the 80s, the gas crisis, the economy bull crap, bland stuff, and then you launch these cars with the same nameplates, and across the board, generally big letdowns.
Usually, in that era.
Talk about a sequel.
I'm trying to think of a good. I can't just off the riff, like off the top of my head.
There's stupid stuff we like.
It's a good one.
Like,
there's dumb stuff.
The Nova twin cam,
sure,
which was a Corolla with the really nice
4AG. Yep.
But not like a Nova SS from the 60s. It's not the same animal.
No, although you know what? The Impala SS, and they brought that back. The Caprice-based V8 rear-wheel drive 1996 Impala SS.
Yeah, but what did they do after that? Front-wheel drive V6.
They turned it into they went back to the boring beam counter heavy drawing board, and
shame.
Hey, don't come out. You know what I would absolutely drive though? A Malibu Max SS.
Dude, those things were notoriously horrible. That was the worst generation.
But kind of cool. You got to get the SS though.
They were horrible.
Like those things like 225 horsepower front wheel drive V6. What about let's get back in the land of the positive.
Okay, take us back.
Now I haven't driven the second generation one, but I have driven the first generation one, and by all accounts, the second generation of the Tsuboyota twins. That's the FRS, BRZ, GT86, 86, whatever you want to name it. From the first generation, which was a well-regarded car, but had some significant flaws. Underpowered, had a torque dip,
Prius wheel tires.
Yeah, a Scion nameplate. And then there's a new one that's out now, and it's all accounts a brilliant car. And
affordable.
Exactly, the most fun per dollar, and that doesn't always happen, right? Usually the second one comes out, and they'll add features and bloat.
Feature
price
creep.
will creep. Exactly,
Feature creep,
and then price creep comes along with that.
Yeah, of course.
That didn't happen. And by all accounts, it's an incredibly they took
Get the applause button.
Is it this one? I think that was it.
Miata, same thing. ND Miata. It got smaller, got lighter,
but NB Miata to NA Miata had your bloat and feature creep.
I have that on mine.
Talk about it.
We can. The NB originally wasn't that much of a departure. Really, it came by way of they all had the 1.8, which a lot of people like and celebrate. A little more power. Of course, the weight went up, features went up. More chassis bracing, which was a good thing. The only saving grace for the NB was like the Mazda Speeds at the end, where they really cashed in and made something special, which I love that car.
What's interesting is that car specifically is pretty polarizing.
Super polarizing.
There's a lot of people who are like, oh, it sucks. The red line's too low. It's unusable. The power band is narrow.
But it was
what if
so
the factory
turbocharged Miata? It was so much quicker than the naturally aspirated version. And now they're like super sought after because they were very limited. There was like a factory fire in the second year.
Oh no!
And I had one of those. 05. They only made 1,400.
There you go.
So I loved the car. I thought it was a hoot. It was fun. Yeah, you only get like 2,000 RPM worth of turbo, but it was a blast.
I love that like 3-stage metallic red paint that you can get in that. That like orangey red.
Yeah, unfortunately I had like the silver, but I had the black leather interior with the red stitching, which is gorgeous. But yeah, so NAs are more popular, pop-up headlights, they're more pure. I'm a 1.6 enthusiast, so I always get the early ones.
Yeah.
You had to get like your 89 to 93, because 94 is when you get the 1.8.
Yeah.
So I've always liked the 1.6, it's revvy, smaller. Mine, if you can get one like mine where you have 0 features from the factory, the weight is extremely low, like you're talking 2,000, 2,100 pounds.
Yep.
Pure roadster experience.
Pure Colombian.
Yes.
Uncut. No comment. How about?
But it was.
I have some other ones where I think the first gen one is definitely better than the second gen. The original is better than the sequel.
Yeah.
However, before we get to that, I'm going to touch on some debatable ones.
Emphasis on touching.
Exactly. Let me put my hands above the table.
Remix the remix. Now it's the original.
I think popular wisdom is that the second gen MR2 is superior to the first gen MR2.
Oh.
And I actually thought that when in my Ute
Yeah.
Early days, I always the 90 plus 90 to 95 MR2 is the superior MR2. Since I've grown, I kind of think I prefer the original, the AW11 versus the SW20 MR2. Now you don't have you have the supercharged one in the earlier version with 145 horsepower.
That was only at the end, yeah, like
that was 88 and 89.
Yeah, 88 and 89.
And then later, the second gen, you got the turbo, the same 3S GE 200 horsepower turbo. So I think flip a coin because I like both of those cars, but I think I like the earlier wedgier shaped one better. What are your thoughts on this, my friend?
That's a tough one.
Do you like the original? Do you like the sequel?
The original SW20s were like borderline deadly because they had like step oversteer. The way the suspension was set up, it was not a very safe car to drive at the limit.
Yeah, you didn't know what the hell you were doing. Yeah, kind of like the early S2000s, kind of
same deal. Yeah. But that was a big difference. But man, the interiors on the AW11s were garbage. They just fell way apart.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the interior and the second gens were way better. The switch gear was really like hard plasticky, and you had like the kind of like radial switches to turn the headlights on and stuff.
Which was cool, but like
they were like the material.
Like, snap it off. The seats just shredded themselves. Everything on the interior fell apart.
Yeah.
I do agree with you from styling. What I don't like is the original ones without the rear spoiler. Or the non-supercharged ones that look a little too bland for me.
I do prefer the rear spoiler, but on the 85 only, it's where you have the black textured trim versus the painted trim, and I kind of like the texture. Like if you're like red with like the belt molding, and the vents and stuff are all black.
That's pretty cool.
Instead of
as long as you have the spoiler, right?
Yeah, they do look a little goofy. I mean, there's like the base model.
Yeah,
there's like no spoiler and like steel wheels.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's one that's like very debatable.
I do love the second gen because it really looked like a future machine comparatively. They rounded it's completely different looking, like mini Ferrari, right?
Getting like bright screaming teal.
Oh yeah. It's a hard choice, but I agree with you. I think I do like how the original looks. I would take a later supercharged one, much like you would, and I think that'd be a fantastic. God, those were $6,000 not too long ago.
No, not anymore.
Can't even find them.
Do you have any ones up for debate?
Between generations?
Yeah. Which ones are...
I think this one sometimes is contested. First gen DSM, second gen DSM.
I have that on here.
Yeah. So we
specifically by Eclipse, but we're talking the same
Eclipse,
thing.
Eagle Talon, the laser.
Second gen laser, right?
Yeah, there was. Wasn't there?
I don't think there was a
second gen laser. There was just a first... Well,
not in the DSM world, because there was an earlier laser.
Yeah, there was an earlier laser. But so the second gen had the 4G63, same deal, same configuration, but we went to a 7-bolt versus a 6-bolt engine. And when people were building 4G63s, there's a reason you hear about 6-bolt builds, right?
Yeah.
This is like in the weeds for those that don't follow all things 4G63.
There were some other, like the axles were different.
Crank walk was way more popular with the second gen.
Good name for a club. In the city, by the way, just called Crank Walk.
Is it? Yeah, that'd be a
good one, like a leather club.
Yeah, another one. But the other issue with the second gen is different turbo. Went to a T25 from a 14B, so not as much ceiling on that one. It's kind of maxed out. There's a bunch of other things.
It's a little smaller.
But it is debatable because the second gen, aesthetically, a lot of people absolutely love it. Fast and the Furious references, go ahead, shoot them out. But I think they look good. I think the second
they definitely look good.
I like more. Yeah,
I think I'm in the same camp. However, a very clean red second gen GSX bone ass stock
with the bigger spoiler option.
Yes, but bone ass stock.
Yeah.
What about the rear, especially the late ones, like on the Eclipse, like the rear hits on those cars?
So good.
They're quite donk-ish.
Well, the bumpers, the way they were integrated with second gens, I thought was so cool though. There's no distinguishable bumper lines really.
Yeah, and you got the power. Well, they all kind of had the power bolts, both generations.
Yeah, they did.
On the hood,
they both did.
But yeah,
and you got the cool
the Talons. You had that like cool like boomerang spoiler.
So did the Stealth. That's why I like the Stealth RT twin turbo.
Correct. So yeah, that one is debatable. I think
isn't that a hotly debatable? Because like there's camps. There's definitely camps for both.
Boy, I don't know. I mean, I would take.
It's tough. That's a tough choice.
I almost want to say I would want the fully optioned Laser RS. early.
Just for oddity's sake.
Yeah, just for oddity's sake versus but also like a perfect like Talon TSI.
Yes.
But it got to be stock. Like the thing is, the later cars were modified. So, I mean, they all were heavily modified, but
especially
I feel like finding a clean stock second gen car, boy.
And then you get excited, and they show the under hood photo, and it's like giant intercooler Piper, big turbo, aftermarket intake.
Yeah, and it's this mishmash of like neon spray painted parts and stuff. And
a TI 83 calculator running the fuel system.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Held in with like paper clips and stuff.
Yeah. Don't touch that, man.
So I want to talk about one more quick debatable one, and then I have some other ones that are I truly think the first gens were better. We'll talk on that for a second. But I do want to say, in the debate zone, and this is not a true because it's more of a spiritual successor.
Okay. I wonder if I picked the same one.
Doubtful.
You sure?
Are you team Countach or are you team Diablo?
I thought you were going to go Mr. Wankle on me, but I'll get to that in a second.
No, I'm not ready to wank. But I'm saying so Countach, which was like the late 70s to late 80s literal poster child, versus the Diablo, which was the follow-up. Kind of effectively was like Countach 2.0 was the Diablo.
Sure.
Spiritually and like poster child. I have one that I prefer, I think.
Masturbatorily?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go with this.
Yeah, there's some damage to the poster. What are you going? You going Diablo or you going Countach?
Diablo, baby.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Something about it, it just looks more sorted. To me, the Countach I love the Countach, and I love the later
I think the Countach is, in a vacuum, I think is cooler. And I prefer the early Countach. I'm going like Periscope.
I like the later.
Early.
The later Countach looks more
pure wedge without the spoiler in the rear or the front spoiler.
Dude, the
front wing.
The early Countach reminds me of a Fiero with a body kit. It looks like that build quality.
That whole like wedge war thing of like the 70s.
Everybody
where you had like the Alfa Romeo Carribo. You had like all those crazy, just bonkers wedge stuff. The early Esprit.
The Mura, the Esprit was way better looking. I think it was cleaner
than a like LP400 Periscopo.
Yeah.
Ooh, I really like both of those cars, and they're both Giario. So the same homie designed both of them.
Well, the Isuzu Impulse.
Same with that.
The Scirocco.
Same with that too. And it shows, right?
It does.
See those bars.
It shows a little bit.
I think I prefer the Periscopo.
Oh, I like the Lotus.
But boy, that S1 Lotus is such a pretty car.
I mean, I'll take
nightmare to own.
I'll take the interior of the Lamborghini versus the interior of the Lotus.
Yeah, those Lotuses are.
But I love how that Lotus
beautiful,
looks.
Terrible car. Yeah, beautiful, terrible car. So, I think the Countach is the cooler car. However, for me, growing up, the Diablo was more aspirational car, was the more interesting car, was the one on the poster in my wall, was
better
the
performer.
OG Need for Speed.
Yeah.
That was like the top car in that game.
Presented by Road and Track.
Presented by Road and Track, exactly. I mean, it was 202 mile an hour top speed, I think. In I don't know if that was the VT, the Diablo VT, or what submodel was.
I love SE Diablo.
I think, I think the Countach is a cooler car. I like the Diablo better. I
agree.
I think it is the proper follow-up to that car. An absolute perfect sequel. That's highly debatable, and I feel like if you took most people, roughly our ages, it might be a 50-50 split.
It's probably,
or maybe more towards the Countach, I think.
The Countach is definitely more popular because it's more polarizing. Thus, it gets a lot of attention.
It's more holy shit.
Yeah. But the Diablo, I'd rather drive, and driving is a big deal to me.
Fair. So yeah, boy, I don't know.
You can't lose.
Up for debate. No, you can't. Well, you can lose a lot of money on maintenance and repairs. But yeah, so it's I think those are very debatable ones. With the NSX, I am a little bit inclined to think that I think the second gen NSX will end up having some collectability because it was less appreciated in its era. But the first one was, I mean, it was appreciated in its era, but not to the degree it is now. It was a little bit more boring than a Ferrari. Just like the new NSX is a little bit more boring than, well, lots and lots of things, including the first gen NSX. So yeah, I do think the first iteration of the NSX is better than the second iteration of the NSX. But I do think in the future, people are going to look back on the NSX and why didn't it sell so much? Especially when the hybrid supercar thing is even more and more prevalent and has gained more mainstay appreciation. I think there's going to be a little bit of that.
I think the pushback is because the original NSX was such an analog, such a pure sports car. You know, no power steering, right?
But I mean, the new NSX in its era, in its current era, I mean, it would have been a straight up throwback if it went like full analog.
I think everybody wanted.
Would have been cool.
I think everybody wanted the Evora GT.
Sure,
to be the.
I think that's fair.
You know,
I think that's very fair.
V8 manual transmission. I mean, you don't get a manual. I mean, that's the craziest thing for an NSX, right?
Well, Evora's a 6-cylinder.
What's that?
The Evora's a 6-cylinder.
No, I'm saying
so that would have been even more throwback to the OG.
But I think a lot of people thought they were going to come up with a high-revving V8 was the talk for the longest time.
It was. It was.
But the Evora GT ended up being what probably should have been the NSX.
You know, a more spiritual,
a more stripped down, a more manual transmission. I think the transmission option was huge in this case.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I mean, we're about to get the new manual transmission in the new Supra.
Yeah.
Right? And that's one right there. So the Mark IV Supra, which is not the original, it's the fourth generation.
Apparently, yeah, just by name.
But that is the one that, like, if you say Supra, that's what people kind of view for the most part.
True.
As the first
I agree.
generation. And then the follow-up to that, the Mark V, the BMW-ification of the Supra nameplate, I think is inarguably worse.
I mean, it's totally a BMW.
Like,
that's the
through and through.
Like, absolutely a BMW product. I agree.
So I think and then even if you want to go back I think the original, the Mark I Supra was a disaster. Not disaster, but it was really not good. The 79 to 81.
No.
And then you had the Mark II, 82 to 85.
Better.
And a half.
I like the Mark III.
The Mark III is a good car too.
Yeah, more of a
way heavier.
A GT
like 500 pounds heavier.
Yeah, GT, but cool looking.
Very cool.
Turbocharged, rear wheel drive, manual option.
Yep, but the one people think of as the Mark IV. And now the new one, the Mark V, after the hiatus, not as good.
Yeah, it's not
as good.
Not good.
Not as good. That's one I think was first gen one.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into
better.
Well, I kind of did. I brought up some going off road. So like the Blazer K5 back in the day was a legitimate off road vehicle, right? Like that in the original Bronco. Before we got this luxury, softer, family-based SUV.
The new one we have now?
Yeah, well, not even close to the one we have now, right?
The one we have now is just, it's a complete also ran.
Yeah, it's like a swolled up crossover.
It always weirds me out when you have this manufacturer, they've got this like brand name cachet, and they decide they're gonna, like, now is when they're gonna push the button to use it, and it's just like, oh, it's like a mid-sized family crossover. Ooh. But the trim is blacked out. Like, okay. Like, how edgy.
Cool.
Yeah, or when, Cadillac kind of roasted the CTS-V name because the V is just a trim now, and you have to get the black wing if you want the cool one.
Yeah, there's this Sport? What is it? CTS-V Sport? Or something like that. They had
I think it's just the V.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a V line or anything like that. God, it's something. But
they did have something like that, though. Yeah, you're right, the black wing stuff.
Let's stay off-road.
Let's do it.
First gen 4Runner versus second gen 4Runner.
Quite a big difference. Same thing, the softiness factor.
Yeah. Which I think objectively, in a vacuum, as far as a better, more livable vehicle, the second gen one is far more refined. It doesn't have a hard, it's like a fixed roof, so 4 doors.
Yeah.
Although you couldn't get a 2-door for the first couple of years, so nobody bought them.
No. They look cool. I like the 2 doors.
2 doors they're good cars, but the first gen is so much more special. You have the removable top. It's a 2-door. It's far more rugged. It's just a really interesting car, or truck, I should say. So I'm a fan of the first gen.
Kind of like the early 4Runners, right? Or the original Pathfinders were more like that.
Correct.
So they followed the exact same trajectory. I mean, they obviously tried to mirror them in the market.
Sure.
Like, I mean, it was.
I love the first gen.
4Runner was a Tacoma, but they put a cab on, right? Originally.
Yeah. No, I love the first gen Pathfinder.
Same deal.
That had a run because that was what, like 86, I think, was the first year to 96.
I think it was that long of a.
And then
that was a Frontier basically too.
Yeah, very similar. The first few years were 2-doors only with a hard top. It wasn't a removable top, and then it was 4-door only eventually.
Those original Pathfinders are pretty cool.
They are cool. Yeah, they are cool. Really boxy, really rugged. They have really cool wheels.
Yeah, 4Runner and Pathfinder.
Yep. And then what about the classic FJ40 Land Cruiser?
Ooh.
And then in '82, I think there was a 1-year crossover effectively, but then you got the FJ60.
Right.
4-door, not removable hardtop.
They got bigger. They definitely had a size creep every year.
Bigger.
The 80 took a big step up. The 100 took a step over the 80.
Yep. And they have the 200 series,
which is
well, now technically it's the 300 series, but we don't get
now
it.
It's dead. Yeah.
We got the Lexus edition, but I would say the FJ40 is very similar kind of track as the first gen 4Runner. Because you had a removable top, shorter wheelbase,
stripped down on feature, just focused off-road.
Yeah.
The beauty of the Land Cruiser run is that they never lost sight of the off-road capability. I love that. I love that they were going to put out a premium, expensive SUV, but you get your locking diffs, right? Which nobody in the right
locking diffs. I mean, you had solid front axles until the 100 series,
right?
This was like the late 80s or late 90s, which is relatively unheard of.
Yeah, and then the 100 series benefited from engine technology, where they dropped this amazing TDZFE. V8
in there, the finest engines ever made.
Outlive all of us, you know.
Exactly. Cockroaches and ants and
they don't give a shit.
And UZ V8s.
Quick
honorable mention: Honda Insight.
Oh, first gen better.
First gen, inarguably better.
Completely better.
And it's funny because they tried to be like, hey, we're gonna do the practical thing, and we'll make the second gen Insight like this bargain Prius.
Yep.
And it was kind of terrible. Like they didn't sell. It should have. Like on paper, it seems like a good car. And I know someone my neighbor has one. And she likes it. She got it for really cheap. She got like $4,000. Like 3 years ago, with like
to throw mileage on.
Miles.
Pile the mileage on.
So that was when I'm kind of surprised they didn't sell better. But the first gen is.
It's because the Prius was killing it.
True.
Right? Why get away from a success story? You know.
How about new Beetle, old Beetle?
I'm not done with the Insight.
Oh, let's go. I want your insight on the Insight.
The first gen Insight is still like one of the most fuel economy vehicles from the box you can buy. And you get a 5-speed manual, and it was built in the same plant.
All aluminum, goes right there with the NSX.
Correct. Cool digital gauge. This is a big deal. Cool digital gauge cluster. Cool. It was cool, right?
Very similar to the S2000 gauge cluster.
Yeah. So I mean, it actually, and like I said, aluminum intensive body, very lightweight car. Crushed. I think it was like 20 miles per gallon better than the follow-up generation.
Yeah. Now, far less practical and far more of a death trap.
Sure, but
like I think those cars. I want to say those cars somehow got some. I don't know if it's via a loophole. Don't say it. Or a similar to like how the Lotus Elise was able to like skirt crash regulations. There was some sort of
they put some.
I mean, they had airbags, but like literally because it's just all aluminum.
Well, the reason we didn't get the newer, and I remember, I'm pretty sure I nailed this, is the later releases. They did not want to modify the US versions to have a certain amount of airbags to fit the protocol. Like they would have to change everything about the chassis.
Yeah, structurally.
Yeah, so they were like, nah, we're gonna pull from your market.
Yeah, and because that's the thing, but like, there's some sort of like workaround where like technically they shouldn't like pass and be able to be sold because of crash stuff. So those Insights are just.
But 65 miles per gallon, my man. Row your own 65 miles.
Yeah, I've driven one of those manual, incredible turning radius. Really cool little car.
Yeah,
really cool little car. And then the second one was complete, also ran that nobody cared about.
Yeah, no one cares.
Like nobody cared about.
0 people. Yeah, big time. Original nailed it.
Yeah. What about Bugs?
Ooh, the new Beetle.
The new Beetle. When did that come out? Was that like '98? I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
'98, and it was basically like a Golf. In Beetle clothing.
Yeah, it's like a Golf and a TT had a one-night stand.
Sort of. Yeah, very similar.
Very similar. It was German, so it was a little more.
Yeah, it was in a dungeon for some reason.
Yeah, a lot of feces.
Would that be a dung beetle, perhaps? But the original Beetle was, I mean,
Did you say Dong Beetle?
No, not Hang and Dang Beetle. But like I feel like the Dong Beetle would probably Ringo. I'm assuming. I feel like I think of all the Fab Four, he's got like at least like a Fab 9 3/4.
I think Yoko Ono had the biggest dong.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe like on Capture, like it was John's, and she just like had it in a jar, like at least created.
Well, that was definitely true.
Yeah, this is true. But with regards to like the air cooled OG Beetle was like, I mean,
icon,
probably the most successful vehicle of all time.
It's up there.
I mean, just straight up. And then this one was fine, but it was like it was almost an exercise in badge engineering, because it was like just like kind of like another. It's just like a Golf, but like with a vase.
Yeah.
And they're fine. They're not bad. I always thought we never got that. Was it the RSI or the RS? What was the one?
Didn't.
The hot one, the all-wheel drive.
Yeah,
turbo.
but we did get the Turbo S.
We did get the Turbo S,
which had the quad headlights, which was cool. That little teeny second headlight. And it had the.
I've been down to drive one of those.
They only came with a 6-speed manual, buddy.
Wow.
That's like automatically a cool car in my book, right?
Yeah.
Like a new Beetle. Yeah. Automatic.
Would you rather have that or like a spec out TT, first gen TT? I really like the first gen TT.
Oh, I do too. Like Quattro, right? It's got to be Quattro.
Yeah, Quattro.
1.8 turbo.
Yes, and the high horsepower one with the dual exhaust.
225 horsepower.
Mm-hmm. Get one of the rare ones without the spoilers that kill you.
I'd get the one with the baseball glove interior. And like a red.
Would you go 1.8 with the 6-speed?
Yeah.
Or 5-speed, I suppose. I think it's 5-speed. Or
did they?
I think they were 5-speed. Maybe they got a 6-speed later.
Yeah.
Or you go the VR4 with the
VR6.
Sorry, yeah, VR6
VR4
with the early DSG.
No, 1.8.
That's like a poor man's or sophisticated man's R32.
It really is.
It's the TT with the 6-cylinder.
I'll take the 1.8. I like the 1.8 better. The tuning potential's there.
Sure.
You get an APR tune on it.
I like all those cars.
Yeah.
I think those are cool.
That baseball interior with a bright out exterior. They have orange.
Or Beetle Turbo S.
The orange
they
you love.
Like, yeah, this cherry
burnt orange with a baseball interior. Oh.
Those are great.
That's too good. That's too good.
Or Turbo S.
Turbo.
Yeah.
The Turbo S only came with the 180 horsepower.
Oh, okay. So it's the lower power,
turbo.
front wheel drive only. Okay. Fair enough. Decision made.
I'm all about those TTs.
You are, yes. What was that website I just was looking at earlier? What about cars that never got there? They never got their sequel.
Oh, that deserved one?
Probably.
In our minds?
Well, here's the thing. Maybe they did deserve one.
Mm-hmm.
But like, maybe they would have lost some of their shine if like the sequel came out and it wasn't as good. Right? Like, I honestly feel like this Mark V Supra has kind of tarnished the Supra legacy.
Agreed.
Because because of what it is and how it was done, and it's really a BMW and it's not a quote-unquote real Supra.
Well, Toyota did the body, come on.
Sure.
The part you least like Toyota to do, right? You'd like Toyota to do the
mechanicals.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, and then ergonomics and not iDrive. But yeah, I mean, stuff that never got like a tried and true sequel, and maybe it deserves it, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's great because it never got a sequel.
Ooh.
But what are some good one-hit wonders? One I mentioned earlier, kind of off there, the Honda Element. Honda Element is insane that there's not one in production right now, because they would not be able to keep them in stock.
100%, yeah.
With just how everyone's into the whole like camping, overlanding, getaway.
It's weird how that didn't work out, but I think it's because Honda's
I think it ran its course.
Well, Honda's lineup at the time too. The CR-V was evolving at this time.
Yeah, but becoming even perpetually softer and squishier and more minivan.
Well, the Element wasn't hardcore.
It wasn't hardcore, but it had like some adventure chops. You know, it had like suicide doors.
But where did it fit? It fit between the CR-V and Passport?
Not even really, because the Passport wasn't a thing back then. The Passport only went until I think like 2002, and then it was gone until
the Pilot. It fits between the CR-V and Pilot, right?
I would say it's sub CR-V.
Do you think so?
It was smaller.
I don't know.
It was smaller. It was boxier. It was quirkier. It was more of like the. I would say it's a cross between a Honda Fit and a CR-V, because the Fit is like this like young like have fun like tossable like entry level, like you just graduated college and so you should go buy a Fit. And I think the Element was a little bit of that, but more of like adventure angle.
I felt like there was more interior space in the Element than the Fit. Or more, of course that, but more in the Element than the CRV.
Different space.
Okay.
Like I think
higher ceiling.
It was far more upright.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you had a slightly less back seat space, but maybe more cargo space in the Element. And you had suicide doors, so it's just a way different car. But if that thing existed now, I think they would not be able to keep it in stock. I think that would be. Then instead, you have kind of what replaced it really was like the HRV, which is whatever. It's like
is that what it's
like a near subcompact. Yeah, it's below the CRV.
Who has the CR?
That's the Toyota one, which is damn near the same name.
Yeah.
The CRT.
No.
I don't even know.
CHR.
CHR. Yeah, it's not Critical Race Theory. Yeah, the CHR, and then the HRV, and then the HPV. But I think that was one that the Element absolutely deserves.
That's a fair point.
Sequel.
Yeah.
And there's some other ones that like don't like what.
I got one. You got one? Pontiac Fiero. Think of what they could have done with a mid-engine thing. Please just put a better engine in that thing.
Sure.
Refine the chassis dynamics.
Did you ever do a quad 4 in a Fiero?
No. They had like a crappy 4-banger and then the V6.
The 2.8. Yeah, the 2.8 was kind of hot garbage.
What if they would have evolved that for a second gen? So its sequel would have had like a nice, I don't know, anything.
Like anything other than Iron Duke
like
4-cylinder.
A quad 4 would be great. Imagine 190 horsepower quad 4 in the back of that thing.
That'd have been cool. That'd have been a screamer.
Would have been a screamer. And then refine the chassis so the handling was better. The looks, the facelift Fieros looked a lot better than the original.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So they would have evolved that further. A true second gen Fiero could have been something.
Yeah, because all you had was the facelift and like literally the very end run. Like the GT, they got the suspension sorted out. It wasn't just like literally like recycled Chevette front end parts. Like it was put together.
But better brakes, a better engine option.
Should have been. It should have been.
See?
That could have been the Mark II MR2.
Could have been.
Competitor.
How fun would that be if they did make a second gen? I think that's something they left on the table, man.
They did. Damn it. GM, leave the GM to screw.
Oh my god.
So they get almost all figured out and then blow it up, you know?
Yep, that's about right.
But instead they made the C4 Corvette for 15 years instead. Or whatever it was.
Good choice. Well, C4's looking good now though.
Yeah, but I don't know. I would have traded the last 6 years of C4 for a second gen Fiero. That would have been rad. You know what never got a second? 3000 GT. You got various facelifts and stuff.
It got a pretty big facelift.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yeah. Fixed headlights.
But and that's not necessarily the
active
fault of the car. That's the fault of Mitsubishi. But I mean, if that car had some sort of
ran for a while
sequel, it did run for a while because you have what 91 to 99.
99, I think, was the last one.
Yeah.
It's a long span.
And they sold whatever dozens in 99. They didn't exactly sell a lot of them. So I mean, there's several reasons why a second one didn't happen. But like that's fun to think about. Like, man, if they had a second, because they backed it up with the Evo, which we ended up getting a number of years later here in the States. But like if they had like the GT Coupe equivalent, high 300 horsepower,
could have been nice.
Could have been good.
Could have been good.
Could have been a contender.
Put it in our category of Mitsubishi. Why not?
I know, right? Why not do a crazy dance?
I mean, what else was just...
Why not take a crazy chance to quote Hillary Duff?
Yeah, of course.
That's one dozen.
I don't know. Yeah, what else was like really a one-hit wonder? There's the Dodge Neon.
Yeah,
they facelifted it a lot,
and but didn't they have eventually a second gen?
Kind of.
I mean, it was like the SRT4 generation.
Yeah, it kind of was
like
the
it was the
same
second gen.
It was, but it was the same thing.
I mean, it was very similar. I think it was technically a second gen. We got the SRT4, which was fun,
which was cool.
But that first gen Neon was
Grand Slam,
extremely competitive.
Yeah,
when Chrysler was very good at being non-competitive.
Right, and American domestic automakers were unable to hang with front-wheel drive
cars,
fun cars from Japan that were, what was the big thing? Affordable.
affordable and like at least like mildly reliable.
Yeah, and engaging to drive.
Yeah. So no, yeah, the Neon was a good one.
I think they look good. I think I look back at those early Neons, and I think they aged
pretty good,
brilliantly.
Yeah, far better than like a a Cavalier, a Sunfire.
I was just gonna say, like GM '94.
Yeah, the Escort.
Well,
I know.
You
still got a soft spot.
Yeah. Well, it becomes a hard spot really quick with the GTs.
True. That's true. What about you should consult a physician, especially if it's been more than 4 hours. S2000,
14 years.
S2000 was one that got a pretty significant refresh, but not a true second generation.
Those are fighting words, man. AP1, AP2, highly contested.
But it's like okay, there's some like the tail lamps and bumper covers are different, and there's a revised
2
engine.
to 2.2 liter displacement.
Yeah, if you lose like 800 RPM off the top end, gain some torque. But it's not a full second gen.
It's a solid.
And I get it. Like the S2000 died in 2009 when the economy died, so they weren't going to make a second one. No. I mean, well, there's the S660 in Japan.
Yeah,
we never got.
We were never going to get
like that. Was never going to happen. But I think part of the reason that is one that I don't like the Element. I'm like, God, that needs to have a second one. I think part of the whole allure and aura of the S2000 is that there wasn't a follow-up. I think that's one that is gained because of being one. It's Shawshank Redemption.
I mean, it's a high revenue,
second Shawshank,
naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, which you're just not going to see.
Correct.
You're not going to see that.
Let's say instead they had the S1000, and it's a 1 liter turbocharged. Let's say 250 horsepower. Let's say similar weight. Freshly designed, you've got modern tech.
No one's going to buy them.
Sure. Step one, there's a reason they haven't done it, because they wouldn't sell. The Element they would sell. That one, I don't know why that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in being penned out somewhere.
Probably.
In a lab. Maybe Honda's been in a lab with a pen and a pad trying to get this damn label off.
Yeah.
The label being the new Honda Element. But yeah, S2000, I think part of the reason why it's special is there was no sequel.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard one to tap into the spiritual success of the first one.
You have any other one-hit wonder?
Agreed. Well, first, AP1 or AP2? What camp are you in, Frank? You got to pick one. No soft tapping around this one.
AP2. I like the subtle exterior design differences.
Okay.
So the taillights that have the ambers in them. I like the revised front bumper. I like the wheel choices better on the later AP2s versus just like the standard 5-spoke on the AP1s.
I can't remember the last time I saw one with stock wheels.
I do. Hey, I got one stolen by my mama. But yeah, so AP2. Now, obviously, the party trick of the AP1, the effectively 9,000 RPM red line, is an excellent.
That's more than a party trick. That's a character number one factor of that car is that 9,000.
Yeah, and I get it if you're like the AP2 is like 1979 Burt Reynolds shaving off his mustache. Like,
sure.
You go you lose a lot.
I was gonna say Johnny Damon after 2004 going to the Yankees and shaving off his beautiful long hair.
As an A's fan, I refuse to discuss the perpetual pilfering of talent from my team.
Oh, I think it's the other way as well. You guys are like the dollar store Red Sox for a little while, where you got the older models.
Hey, just because it's Johnny Gomes is like the only. Anyways, we're going off the rails.
Yeah, we're off the rails.
Yeah, maybe we should have like a sports talk episode.
But honestly, I actually like the AP1 because I love that 2-liter screaming.
Sure.
And that's just for the drama. Yeah. I know there's an inherent lack of like drivability, like functional horsepower, functional torque. Yeah. But I kind of want the personality. I mean, I know either one is not a fast car by today's standards. So the AP2 is faster in traffic.
Either one of them, I think they're kind of the perfect amount of power for that car.
Don't get me wrong, yeah. But against a modern sports car, it's gonna get dusted. Well, but I want the drama.
Camry TRD.
Yeah, Camry TRD, just eat it for breakfast. That Accord would probably smoke it, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know. We'll have to get the V-box on the case.
Oh boy. Low sevens.
I don't know what the S2000 on the box. I want to say 5.8 or something.
Yeah, it's gonna be close.
Tire choice. But yeah, S2000. I'm an AP2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I got a quick couple honorable mentions, unless you got some other ones.
Let's hear them and then get quizzing here. We gotta get going here.
We gotta pedal to the metal. Honorable mention: BMW M1, the OG little BMW kind of pseudo supercar. Had like the E28 M5, 6-cylinder in it, mid-engine, very bespoke, very cool.
No true.
To the point, not only does it not have a sequel, they had a car that they should have named the M1 in the 135M, but they didn't do it because they didn't want to impinge on the history of the version. That's how cool that first car was, and they've never gotten close to it. They probably could have gotten away with calling the i8 an M1.
Well, the 1M was, I love that car.
The
twin turbo.
Yeah, the 135M or whatever
they call it the 1M though.
The 1M, yeah, not the M1.
Yeah, no.
It was not Garand, but it was interesting because it was such a cool car, and they recognize it, and they're like, we're not only are we going to not make a sequel, we're going to have cars that we probably should follow the same name parlance, and we're going to actively avoid it.
It's good.
Respect.
Yeah.
So that one never got it. That would be cool if it does eventually get a sequel. The other one that people don't think about has not really, it's had plenty of revisions, but not had a sequel. Tesla Model S does not have a second generation. It's just been the same thing over and over, and then even like the Model 3 and stuff, it's all kind of the same deal, which is
it's all true.
It's all the thing. So that's one that, I guess it's a one-hit wonder, although there's still it's a very long song.
Yeah.
It's an Inagata Vita, if you will. It just keeps going. But yeah, one-hit wonder. So we've got sequels that are good, we have sequels that are bad.
Myth true about that? Like in the Garden of Eden? It was supposed to be the title.
Yeah, but he was so I think it was drunk and just like straight up black tar heroin in the veins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did. Yes.
Quiz time?
Quiz time.
Let me explain. You can pull up that quiz. I'm going to aim your computer away from me so I don't cast my cheating eyes at you. So this is our automotive print ad quiz show, ladies and gentlemen.
Hungry.
I'll continue as soon as Frank is done pretending.
Watching you. Oh, carry on.
So what we do is we find a print ad from the 80s, 90s, possibly early 2000s if we're feeling frisky. We omit anything that gives it away. We read it to each other. So it's Frank's turn to quiz me, so I'll be trying to guess. I have 3 guesses to arrive at what vehicle he is talking about. Obviously, I can't see the ad, and he's going to omit the giveaway stuff. And we're going to see if we can get there, guys. It's pretty challenging. I can ask for hints and tap out whenever I want.
Okay.
Safe word is...
There are no safe words, my friend.
Mitsubishi Cordia.
Got it. Yeah, you had me at Cordia.
Lay it on me, Frank.
So this one, it's a... it does show the vehicle in the upper 25%-ish of the ad. It's at slightly, I don't know, maybe a 20-degree angle.
Okay.
Front passenger quarter shot. And then the lower part of that has, like the lower 2/3 is like a whole, like kind of close-up of the instrument panel, dashboard, seat, a little bit of the center console with a shifter.
Oh.
Okay. And then it says, awesome display of power in between the two.
That's like Pantera's vulgar display of power.
Basically. Fantastic. Fantastic. And then I gotta zoom in a little bit because they use like a 3-point font. Says the name. And this is like scripted over the interior. Okay. So it's just like over it. It's not even in a box, it's just like printed over it.
Sure.
For the first time, a digital electronic control panel lets you look into the soul of your blank. Calm down. It allows you to monitor the legendary performance of its 2.8-liter fuel-injected overhead cam road burner. Hey, you know what? It's an awesome display of power, okay? Apparently one that will torch the roadways.
Quotes road burner.
Performance that has captured 11 racing championships in 12 years.
What?
This miraculous innovation is just part of an optional leather package that will make your blank more valuable. This computerized marvel also has a, quote, voice. It reminds you when you have left your lights on, your fuel level is low, when the parking brake is on, and when the door has been left open.
The new blank, I almost said it, is available at your blank dealer. Now in turbo, 2-seater, or 2+2, whichever you choose. You'll have the awesomest, in quotes, blank ever. Chadwick.
Oh boy.
What vehicle are we discussing here, my friend? What has an awesome display of power?
This is tough. 2.8 overhead cam, so I'm guessing a V6, potentially straight 6, but this is tough, man. So
it's a road burner.
Yeah, it's something. We're definitely in the 80s, I think, with this tech that we're talking about.
It's miraculous, is what it says.
Yeah, in the 90s, they would not have. Digital dashes were definitely on their way out in the 90s.
And the leather package will make your blank more valuable than ever. Not more comfortable, not more luxurious, more valuable.
What really got me is the lineup. So you got turbo, you got a 2-seater, or you got a 2+2. Which really makes me think of the Z cars, but they weren't 2.8 liters. So it kind of steered me away from that. 2.8 liter. God, I feel like I'm dealing with a domestic here. I feel like I'm in domestic land. This is a tough one, man. All I have is displacement and some.
Did we mention it has a voice?
I know, I'm missing out. Well, there were a few that had that.
And a digital dash.
The door is ajar.
When is door not a door?
When it's ajar.
Awesome display of power.
Well, 2.8 was, GM had a lot of 2.8s. I can't think of any Ford 2.8s though. Definitely not a Fiero. Or it could be. Fiero didn't have a digital dash. They had an analog. Damn it. Never had a turbo for sure.
Turbonium.
Saab would have never done a digital gauge display. They didn't have the voice either. Wow. What had a 2.8? I'm gonna get stuck on this one, man. I know the voice is the giveaway, but I can't pelt the name right now.
I don't think the voice is a giveaway. I think the voice is a hint. It's a high quality hint.
It's definitely the 80s. Like, I'm definitely stuck firmly in the 80s here, and I'm thinking mid 80s.
Potentially. 11 of 12 championships.
That's the weirdest part.
That's the one you nailed it on?
Oh, yeah. Got it. Oh! When they're loosely using a nameplate from 30 years ago. So my first guess is going to be, because I was thinking about the Z cars. I'm going to stick with Z cars, and I'm going to go with one you like a lot more than me.
Okay.
The Nissan 280ZX.
Awesome display of power. The new 280ZX is available at your Datsun dealership, now in turbo, 2-seater, or 2+2. Whichever you choose.
Ooh, baby.
I thought you were going to lead yourself astray there, my friend.
I thought I was, too.
Because you were right there, and I thought it was relatively easy. The biggest hint I thought was the turbo 2+2 and 2-seater.
So
because that kind of pins it down to that, the 300, but the 300 is a 3 liter.
That's what I was thinking.
2.8, which this is, and it's a 280ZX.
We're talking early to mid 80s.
Yeah, that is, that production ended in 83. So 84 was the 300ZX.
Yep.
And so the turbo didn't exist until 81. And this talks about the turbo. So this is, it doesn't have an exact year. I will show you the ad.
We got there.
Awesome display.
Dude, what an awesome ad.
Power.
Holy crap. Dude, the radio in silver is brilliant.
Those are cool. They're impossible though, like, because it's like you can't get an aftermarket one because it's like not even a single din. It's like its own weird thing.
Yeah, it's its own weird thing. Man. Yeah, I forgot. So the tack going up and down is what really reminded me of.
Yeah.
I knew it was a Z.
Because you had that same, very similar cluster in the 300ZX too.
Correct. Yep.
You did it, my friend.
Yes.
Pulled it off.
Classic one, man.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like we kind of we're hitting these lately. I don't think we've got one wrong. Either one of us in a minute.
I think Cordia was the last time I was stoned.
Yeah, I think we need to get a little bit more difficult.
We're just pretty good at our obscure cars, though.
Of nonsense.
Well, the ZX isn't obscure.
Yeah, it's not terribly obscure. It's maybe one of the more obscure models of the Z car.
Yeah, I was really starting to think of GM land, and then when you said turbo, I'm like,
And 2+2. Like, I also,
Yeah,
like, if it
good.
said 4-seater instead, then it would have made it more difficult. But the fact just 2+2 and then a turbo.
Yep.
Kind of.
I was thinking Z car, just wanted to get the right one.
Well, got it with an awesome display of power. Speaking of awesome displays of abuse of PCP.
You go for a quick round though, because
we will, and I don't have a whole lot to update other than I think I've mentioned before that I hinted at anyways. I bought another car.
Yeah, you did. Run us through that.
2001 Chevrolet Suburban 1500 four-wheel drive Z71 package.
Fine vintage, pairs well with Cheez-Its.
Yep. That's a GMT 800. Black. Tan leather, pretty decent shape. You know, there's some wear. It's got 191,000 miles, but the price was right. Bought for $2,800.
Oh,
needed tires, so put tires on it. So it's got a set of BFG all-terrains on it.
Yes,
that's there. I do think the right front wheel bearing is about ready to give up the ghost.
Oh,
so I ordered one.
Check that.
Which I picked up today. So I'm hopefully gonna get that installed. I don't think I have the stomach to do that myself, and I need to drive that thing this weekend. So I'm gonna see if I can scramble.
Yeah.
And get that thing sorted. And then yeah, like some other ticky-tack stuff, but other than that, AC is cold, motor sounds good,
nice.
It's got all the gears, four-wheel drive works, all of the things. And this is now my tow rig that I've been discussing for a long time.
Heck yeah, we finally got there, man.
So, and who knows, I'm half tempted to just like take some photos of it and put it on Facebook Marketplace for like $7,000 and see if somebody wants to limp into it and give me, you know, more than double my money.
This sounds like a good keeper though for what you need it for.
It seems like a good keeper. So I'm not dailying it, so you know, 12 miles a gallon, be damned, I don't care.
That's fine. I get that with the Land Cruiser.
Exactly. What have you been up to?
Oh, truck stuff too, man.
Truck stuff?
Yeah, truckuary.
That's right. Charge.
So the last time I took the Land Cruiser off-road a couple times with the little dude, we went a little harder than when we went off-road. So did some more frame twisting, some more speed runs.
Yeah.
So I caused the front axles that go into the front diff, the inner seals to go.
On the axle side or the diff side?
No, diff side. So I'm going to have to pull the axles. There is a way to manipulate the axle out so you don't have to take off the hub or remove it from the hub. So I'm going to try that. It is kind of a pain in the butt, but at the same time, I need to do fluids anyway. So I'll be doing, you know,
while
both
you're
diffs.
in there.
Yeah, while I'm in there, both diff fluids. Transfer case in the middle needs fluid. It's a little bit of pain in the butt. I removed the skid plate, and you can see both profusely leaking.
Sure.
So 2-for-1 deal. I went to Toyota. I can't remember the last time I went to a dealership and actually picked up parts, but there's a Toyota right down the road that was
sweet.
Dealerships are very empty right now. You can walk right in. I ordered parts the day before. They had them next day, so I got the OEM parts, which I always am an advocate for, like seals like that.
Seals and stuff, unless they're like prohibitively expensive.
Or or not available, right? But if you like doing a job twice like that, which I don't want to do, I'll pay the extra $5-10.
Might as well,
right? So we'll do all that fluid. It actually all takes transfer case and both dips takes like the same gear lube. So 75/90 Mobile 1 is what everybody likes, so I'll do that. And that's all I've got to do, so that's coming up. It's going to be a hard job. It's always a pain in the butt. Everything's like heavy duty on one of these trucks, so it's like a lot more weight than you're used to in cars. But just like you, I've got some truck work to do because I played a little too hard with my toys.
Boy, all these SUVs that we're swimming in.
Yeah, dude, falling on a budget while gas prices soar astronomically.
I know, right? Buy low, sell high, and that's when you buy low because nobody wants to be.
Not a good time to sell. Yeah.
Exactly.
Close us home, close us out, Daddy.
Well, we are another Pointless Automotive podcast.
That is correct.
You can find us on the YouTubes and the Instagrammers at APA Podcast.
That's right.
You are Chadwick. Where can you be found?
Auto Obsessive Garage on the tubes and Weaker Presence on Instagram. Check it out.
There you go.
Frank, you?
I am the Photographer's Garage on both of those things, both of those platforms. Thank you for following along on whichever platform you are choosing to do that on. Tune in for more of this stuff against your will, and we appreciate you guys doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Take care as always.